On the second night at the cabin, I heard my mother call my name from the trees. That was not the strange part. The strange part was that my mother had been dead since the winter before, and whatever was standing out there in the dark, wearing her voice, was getting closer. I have never told this story in full, because I know how it sounds. But I am telling it now, because we were not the first family to stay in that cabin, and we will not be the last. And there is one rule, the rule the old man tried to tell us, that I need you to hear. My sister Claire and I inherited the cabin from our grandfather. Deep in the woods, end of a dirt road, no neighbors for miles. We drove up that autumn to clear it out and decide whether to sell it. We thought a weekend in the quiet would do us good. The man at the gas station, the last building before the dirt road, went quiet when we said where we were headed. He told us the woods up there were not right, that people heard things at night. And then he said the thing I laughed at and have not stopped thinking about since. He said, "If you hear someone you love calling you from the trees, do not answer and do not go to them, no matter how sure you are. The ones who love you knock on the door. They do not call you out into the dark." We thanked him and we drove up, and we did not think about it again. The first night was nothing. We cleaned, we drank wine, we laughed about the superstitious old man, and we slept in a silence so total it almost hummed. It was the second night that the woods woke up. I was on the porch, a little after 2 in the morning, when I heard it, faint, from the tree line. A woman's voice, my name, soft, the way she used to say it when I was a child and had a fever. The exact way my mother used to say it. And my mother was a year in the ground. I told myself it was the wind, an animal, a dream. But it came again. My name in her voice, a little closer to the edge of the trees. And every grieving cell in my body wanted to walk down off that porch and into the woods, toward the mother I had buried. I did not. I do not entirely know why. The old man's voice may be in the back of my head. I went inside. I locked the door, which felt absurd, and I sat against it until the sky went gray, and the voice out in the dark finally stopped. I did not tell Claire. I told myself I had imagined it. But the next night, at the same hour, it came back. And this time, it was not calling for me. It was standing closer to the cabin, just inside the trees, and it was calling Claire's name, in my voice. I heard myself, my own voice, coming from outside, calling my sister to come out. I was lying in my bed, my mouth closed, listening to myself call her name from the woods. And down the hall, I heard Claire's bed creak as she sat up and answered, half asleep. "I'm coming." I was across the cabin before I knew I was moving. I caught her at the door, her hand on the lock, her eyes glassy and far away. I shook her until she came back. She said she had heard me calling from outside, telling her it was an emergency. I had never left my bed. We did not sleep. We sat in the main room with every light on, and I finally told her everything. As we talked, low and frightened, we both slowly realized that the woods outside had gone completely, perfectly silent, as though something was listening. And then, right outside the window, we heard it clear its throat. A small, familiar sound, and it began, in my mother's voice, then in mine, then in Claire's, to recite our entire conversation back to us. Every word we had just said. It had been at the glass the whole time. We did not look at the window. We could not. We sat in the middle of that room, holding on to each other, and we listened to a thing outside try on our voices, one after another, like a person trying on coats, learning us, getting us right. Near dawn, it tried something new. It stopped using our voices, and for just a moment it spoke in a voice that was its own. I will not describe that voice. I will only tell you that it asked, very politely, in a tone of terrible patience, if we would please come outside. And then the sun came up. We were in the car within the hour. We did not pack. We drove down that dirt road too fast, branches screaming against the doors, and we did not look at the trees, and we did not stop until we saw the lights of the gas station, and another human being, and the ordinary holy daylight. The old man was there. He took one look at our faces and nodded slowly, like a doctor confirming a diagnosis he had hoped to be wrong about. He poured us coffee, and he told us the rest of what he knew, the part he had not said the first time, because the first time we had laughed. He said the thing in those woods was old, older than the cabin, older than the town, that it could not come inside and it could not take you. It could only call. Everything it did, the voices, the patience, the politeness, was bent toward one single purpose: to get you to come to it willingly, because that was the only way it worked. It could not cross a threshold uninvited. But if you walked out to it, on your own 2 feet, of your own free will, drawn by a voice you loved, then you belonged to it. And then you became one of the voices it used on the next family. He told us about the families before us. A couple in the 70s who never came back, whose voices, hikers swore for years, could still be heard calling from those trees. My grandfather, who had stopped going up to the cabin in his last years and had refused on his deathbed to say why. And he told us why my mother's voice. The thing uses the voices of the dead who are tied to you, he said, because those are the ones you cannot resist. It had not been my mother out there in the dark. It had been bait, in the shape of the thing I missed most in the world. We sold the cabin, or we tried. The sale fell through twice, and in the end we signed the deed over to the state and walked away and told ourselves it was someone else's problem now. But it is not someone else's problem. The road is still there. The cabin is still there. And so is the thing in the trees. I still hear it sometimes. Not in the woods, in my dreams, and in that half-second of waking when the house is dark and quiet. My name in my mother's voice, soft and loving and patient, calling me from somewhere just out of sight. And every time, some part of me still wants to answer. So this is the rule, the one the old man gave us, the one I am giving you. If you are ever somewhere quiet and dark, and you hear someone you love calling you from outside, from the trees, from the dark beyond the door, ask yourself one thing before you take a single step. Are they knocking? The people who love you, the living and the dead, the ones who truly mean you well, they come to the door. They knock. They want to be let in, into the warmth, into the light, where you are. They do not stand out in the cold and the dark and call you out to them. Only one kind of thing calls you out into the dark, and it will wear any voice it has to. Your mother, your sister, your child, your own. It will be patient, and it will be kind, and it will be so very convincing. And the only protection you will ever have is the one rule it cannot break. Do not answer. Do not go to them. Stay inside. Stay in the light, and wait for the sun. Whatever you do, no matter how sure you are, no matter whose voice it wears, do not walk out into those trees, because the things that love you knock, and the thing in the woods only ever calls. We were lucky. We had a warning from an old man at a gas station that we very nearly ignored. The families before us did not. Their voices are still out there, in the trees, on the wind, calling the next ones who do not know the rule. Soft, loving, patient, and not anymore their own. Claire still won't talk about it. I don't blame her, but I tell it every chance I get, because somewhere tonight there is a family driving up a dirt road to a quiet cabin in the woods, laughing about a superstitious old man. And in the trees, something very old and very patient is already learning how to say their names.